Hey everyone, welcome to my game development vlog. I'm excited to share what I've learned while building my first game in Unity. I'm a software engineer who spent years developing regular applications, but I've never published a game before. This vlog series is my way of documenting my journey and sharing what I've learned as I build my first game called Zhynos Adventure, a mobile game that combines elements of Pokemon with auto battler mechanics. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through how I implemented character movement and camera control for my game. These are fundamental systems that took me some time to get right, and I hope sharing my approach will help you if you're working on something similar. Let me explain why I made certain design decisions. For character control, since this is a mobile game, I went with the traditional joystick UI positioned at the bottom left of the screen. This is a familiar control scheme that most mobile gamers are comfortable with, making it intuitive for players to pick up and play. For the camera system, I chose a top-down view with adjustable distance and angle. This gives me full control over how the game world is presented to the player. I also implemented smooth camera following with a slight delay, which creates a more polished feel as the character moves around the environment. Before we dive into the implementation details, I want to mention that in the video description, you'll find download links to my player controller and camera controller scripts. I'll also include links to other tutorial videos that helped me learn these concepts. Feel free to use these resources to help with your own projects. Now let's get started with setting up the UI for our mobile controls. Let me tell you how I set up the mobile controls for my game. I actually followed this really helpful tutorial called How to Create Mobile Joystick in Unity 3D. You'll find the link in the description below. Since this isn't a step-by-step tutorial video, I'll just walk you through the main things I did to get the joystick working. The first thing I did was grab the free joystick pack from the Unity Asset Store. It's great because it comes with several different joystick styles you can choose from. Then came the UI setup. I created a new canvas in the scene and configured it with screen space, overlay mode. For consistent scaling across different devices, I set the UI scale mode to scale with screen size and used a reference resolution of 1920 by 1080. Finally, I just dropped the fixed joystick prefab onto my canvas, positioned it in the bottom left corner where players would expect it to be, and tweaked its size and look to match my game style. And that's really all there is to it. The beauty of this joystick component is that it handles all the touch input automatically. It gives us those horizontal and vertical values we need for character movement, which I'll show you how to use in just a bit. Now let's talk about setting up our character. The same joystick tutorial I mentioned earlier actually shows the basics of character animations, but you can find tons of detailed animation tutorials on YouTube if you need them. What I really want to focus on here is how we control these animations from our script. That's the key to making your character feel responsive to player input. Setting this up was pretty straightforward. First, I prepared my character prefab with a rigged model and two basic animations, one for idle and one for running. I set up an animator controller with trigger parameters to switch between these states. Then came the script setup, which was just a matter of adding my player controller script and hooking up all the necessary components. I connected the rigid body, animator, and that joystick we just created, then tweaked the movement and rotation speeds until they felt right. Here's the cool part. The player controller script watches the joystick input and automatically triggers the right animation. When players aren't touching the joystick, the character plays its idle animation. As soon as they start moving the joystick, it smoothly transitions into the run animation. This simple setup creates that fluid, responsive feel that makes controlling the character feel natural. Let's dive into the character movement code. I wanted to keep things simple and straightforward here. No fancy mechanics, just smooth, responsive movement that feels good on mobile. By the way, you'll find a link to the complete source code in the description below. Let me walk you through the key parts of this script that make everything work. 1. Essential components and variables. These are our core settings that control how the character moves and feels. The require component attribute makes sure we don't forget the essential components. 2. Movement input processing. This is where we take the joystick input and convert it into movement. The normalized vector ensures consistent movement speed in all directions. 3. Character movement and rotation. This is where the magic happens. The character moves in the direction of the joystick and smoothly rotates to face that direction. The lerp function gives us that nice smooth rotation instead of snappy turns. 4. Animation control. This handles switching between idle and run animations based on whether the character is moving. The small threshold of 0.1 prevents animation flicker from tiny joystick movements. The beauty of this setup is its simplicity. The character moves where you point the joystick, rotates smoothly to face that direction, and plays the appropriate animation, all while feeling responsive and natural on a mobile device. Now let's look at how I set up the camera system. I wanted something flexible that would smoothly follow the player while giving me control over both the distance and viewing angle. The best part is, setting this up is super simple. Just add the camera controller script as a component to your main camera and assign your player character as the target in the inspector. Let me show you the key parts that make this camera system work. 1. Customizable settings. These variables give us complete control over how the camera behaves. We can adjust the following distance, viewing angle, how smoothly it follows the player, and even offset the camera's focus point above the player. 2. Camera angle setup. This sets up our initial camera angle and makes sure it stays consistent. Simple but effective. 3. Smart position. Calculation. Here's where the math magic happens. The camera automatically calculates its position based on our desired angle and distance. This gives us that perfect top-down view while maintaining the right perspective. 4. Smooth following. This single line creates that smooth following effect. Instead of snapping directly to the target position, the camera gracefully glides to where it needs to be, creating a more polished feel. What I love about this setup is how versatile it is. Want a more top-down view? Just increase the angle. Need the camera closer or further away? Adjust the distance. Want snappier or smoother camera movement? Tweak the smooth speed. It's all easily customizable right in the Unity inspector. Let me wrap things up by sharing some tips on fine-tuning these controls. After playing around with the settings, I found that a movement speed of 5 and rotation speed of 10 feels pretty good for my game. For the camera, I settled on a 25-degree angle and distance of 8 units. It gives that nice overview of the surroundings while keeping the character clearly visible. But here's the thing, these numbers aren't set in stone. Every game is different, so you'll want to experiment with these values to match your game's style. Maybe you want snappier character turns, or a camera that follows more tightly. It's all just a matter of tweaking those parameters in the Unity inspector. One quick tip. If you're testing on different screen sizes, you might need to adjust the joystick's size and position a bit. I found that playing around with the reference resolution changes the size of the joystick. And that wraps up this video. I hope sharing my approach to character and camera controls has been helpful. Remember, you can find all the code we covered in the description below, along with links to the tutorials that helped me figure this out. If you're interested in seeing more of my game dev journey with Zhynos Adventure, don't forget to subscribe. I'll be sharing more insights as I continue building this game. Thanks for watching and happy coding.